The result, of course, the consequences are not so great for the adults, though they go through a lot of trauma too. But we cannot revert to the old unjust relationship between man and woman, where woman was treated as subservient to man, working more or less as an assistant to man and treated as his property. That was an unjust and unfair relationship. Therefore, it's right that that relationship should break down or change. But it also means that we need to find a new relationship in which, as equals and as friends, we can relate with each other with a sense of responsibility and with true friendship and affection, maintain the family in the interest of the child. But when self-interest dominates the two individuals, as between nations, you have these divisions and breaking up. So it's the same problem of the breakdown of cooperation. What is true cooperation? What is true friendship? Unless we as human beings discover that and live that way, it's the same problem within the family as between nations. So that I see as another problem, and perhaps that may be the reason why there is so much juvenile delinquency, why there is so much of drug addiction among the young, and the increasing violence in society at the individual level. Then there is this whole problem of treating the earning of money as the main mission in life. Throughout, this has become an attitude where it is now money that is driving, that's the driving force for whatever is taking place in society. If games are organized, it is because of money. If newspapers are published and magazines are produced, it is because in order to earn money. If pharmaceutical industry comes up, it is because they want money. So what is right is no longer the consideration. What is profitable is the main consideration, both at the individual level and also, of course, therefore, at the factory level, at the company level, at the national level. What is profitable? Not what is right for the whole, but what is profitable for the me and the mine, which is the same problem of approaching life with a self-centered attitude. Why has money, which is something which man invented for the convenience of barter and trade, such a sensible device? Before that, people used to bring goods to the marketplace in order to exchange it, and it was so inconvenient. Somebody had the ingenuity to say, well, just put it down on a piece of paper that you owe me so much, and you can come another time and take it from me. And that money was stamped by the community and became money. That paper became money. That's all there is to money. But when you couple that with human greed and exploitation and all that, it becomes this huge economic system with exchange rates and interest rates and God knows what else. And now it is controlling us and driving everything. It is determining what our children will read, what films we will go to see, what career you can take up in life. Everything is being determined by this one device which we invented ourselves, like the Frankenstein monster. It's out of the bottle, now it's controlling us. That I see as a major problem, because what is right has been defined more or less as that which is profitable, not that which is healthy for the whole. And last but not the least, I think there is the problem of terrible inertia in society, which means societies tend to replicate themselves. Somebody introduced casteism into India 5,000 years ago. It's mentioned even in the Gita, which is prehistoric. May not have had the form which it has today, but it has created divisions in the society of Brahmins and Kshatriyas and Vaishyas and Shudras, and it has crystallized into a discriminatory structure. People marry only within their caste. So the whole country is divided. And this perpetuates because the child grows up seeing this in operation. Therefore, his mind gets infected with casteism. Grows up, therefore, that maintains casteism, and that's how it perpetuates. So society replicates itself. The children grow up in the images of their parents, which means our problems tend to perpetuate. If the Arabs tell their children the Jews are our enemies, and the children get infected with the same hatred which the parents have, and the Jews say that same to their children, that the Arabs are our enemies, the old people die, and the young people are already growing up with that enmity. So how will this division between Jews and Arabs end? That's the issue or the problem. It can only end if we create an inquiring mind, not a conforming mind. An inquiring mind. Help a child to grow up with and question the adults, not just accept whatever the adults are telling. But that's so contrary to what we do in education, what we do in our homes, the way we bring up our children. We don't want them to have an inquiring mind because it's so inconvenient for us to be questioned. But that means we perpetuate all these problems. That's why I said in the very beginning that I'm sorry, but the problems we are facing are of a very deep-rooted nature, and there are no simple solutions which I have to offer. It may sound pessimistic, but I'm not trying to be optimistic or pessimistic, I'm just trying to be truthful, to see things as they are. You can question it. I may be mistaken. I'll correct myself, but that's how things appear to me to be. So if we are facing so many problems, deep-rooted problems globally, how are these problems going to be solved? Will the same kind of education, the same kind of production of knowledge and so on, solve these problems as the one that has created it? All our research efforts right now are directed that way. All our research effort globally is towards producing still faster computers, still faster aeroplanes, going still further into space, making still more different types of weapons of war, inventing all kinds of things, acquiring still more skills and knowledge. Is that same kind of trend going to solve these problems? We saw that those things were very useful and they brought about tremendous progress for 100 years. But are we now doing that just because we have been doing that and it has borne fruit in the past? Are we doing it again? We are caught in that same problem of inertia, that's what we know how to do, therefore that's what we are doing. In which case we are suffering from the same problem, that we are not willing to adapt, we are not willing to change when we see the need to change. Even biologically, intelligence was defined by Darwin as that which leads to survival. And is human intelligence leading to survival? If not, is it intelligence? Maybe the cockroach is more intelligent than us because they have survived longer. They cooperate with each other. They don't destroy each other. The ants live cooperatively. And Krishnamurti says, there is no intelligence without compassion. And yet, we have cultivated intelligence without compassion. We consider it to be intelligence. So, are we really intelligent, or have we just defined intelligence unintelligently? I'm just posing deeper questions to dwell upon. It seems to me that somewhere we are continuing in a wrong direction. It may have been useful at one time, but it's not useful anymore. I think it was Mark Twain who made that remark humorously. He said, progress was all right once, but it went on too long. I think that's true. It was all right to go from the bullock cart to the aeroplane. But now when you want to reach London in 5 hours instead of 10, what are you going to do with the remaining 5? It's no longer the priority. And yet that's where we are still putting in our effort, when the problems that we are facing are these. We laugh at Nero because we say he was fiddling with his violin when Rome was burning and he was the emperor. Are we very different from him? We're playing with all these gadgets, with all these fast computers, with this and internet, and we are so delighted with it all. When these are the problems our life is facing. And we are not facing those problems. We are exactly like what Nero was. Nero was also entertaining himself and not looking at the problem. We are doing the same as humanity. That's how it seems to me. I hope I am wrong. I hope you can inject a streak of optimism without it becoming unrealistic. But I have a scientific mind, so I don't easily go into romantic, emotional things. So, but factually, I think the facts are pointing out at all this to us. And are we listening? Are we listening to what life is telling us? It's saying, you need to change, buddy. Not change the whole world, change the government, change the systems out there, have another president, another prime minister, another parliament, different party. That's all playing on the surface. But we want everything delivered at our door. In religion also, we want some Messiah, new Messiah to come and tell us how to live. We don't take responsibility for our own life. It's the same. with our life, with our health system problems, everywhere. But it's all building up. We may have got away with it up till now, but it's all coming up to here now. And I don't think, quite realistically, I agree with Martin Rees that it's highly unlikely that we will survive this century unless we bring about a radical change in ourselves. And that's what perhaps we should discuss. How much is the external change that is needed? Not ignore that. But what is the inner change that is needed to solve these problems? Because these problems are not simple problems. They are and very urgent problems because they are taking us towards annihilating ourselves. That's where, therefore, very serious problems. And it's not good enough to just close our eyes and entertain ourselves and forget these problems. I think I'll end it here and we can discuss some of it. And then there is also a dialogue tomorrow where we can go into it still deeper.
Do we have a little break?
Yes, Ulrich, shall we have a break?
I think you want a cup of tea.
Yes.
So, otherwise, I would suggest you continue.
It's 8:15. Shall we say 15 minutes? 8:30 we meet again?
I suggest we continue.
We continue?
15 minutes.
Okay.
For those who want a cup of tea.
Okay. The ball is in your court. You can ask questions or make comments on what I have observed till now.
I like your idea about the Nero. It's like Nero syndrome that we all have. So I think if we can all see that in ourselves and then apply the Gandhi principle is you have to be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
So we have to see this. So it seems to me in our culture, especially in the United States, I think the Nero syndrome is really prevalent. I think it's such a great analogy, the idea of Nero. I have never thought of it that way. But that's really what people are doing is just doing what they can to fulfill themselves and not really looking at the whole picture. And just being glad that it's not maybe directly happening to them. And so it makes it really easy not to look outside one's own.
Yes, I thank you for pointing that out, but we need to realize the truth of the statement that you have to be the change which you want to see in the world, which is what Gandhi said. We need to investigate that and rediscover that, the truth of that for ourselves, so that it becomes our truth and not Gandhi's truth. Yeah. Right now we think that peace is something the United Nations must create. Governments must do, the heads must do that. I am not responsible for that. And that statement is saying, unless we as individuals are peaceful, we will not have a peaceful society, we will not have a peaceful world. Because ultimately, the world is just a projection of what transpires in human consciousness. If I am violent, that violence manifests in my relationships. And it is these relationships that constitute society. That influences the mind of all the people in that society. And that is what the country is. And therefore it also influences the mind of the nation as a whole. So the individual is not separate from the nation. Krishnamurti said, "You are the world." That was his statement. Meaning, the world is the way it is because we are the way we are. Right? Our mindset in the world is creating the whole society, because society is not something out separate from us. Whoever, we elect a prime minister or president, where is he? He is also educated in this society, in the schools and colleges, in the homes. So he grows up with the same ideas, notions, sensitivities, which we have. And he functions in that place, and then we blame him for all the actions, not knowing that we have contributed to it all. But it's very true. When you observe, when you look at it deeply, you cannot just solve the problem out there. The problem has to be solved in here. And which means, therefore, education must concern itself with the transformation of consciousness, which it has not done. It is only cultivating knowledge and expertise and so on. It was all right up to a point where we needed all that, but now it's going on out of that same inertia, because that's what we know how to do. That's what I have been educated in university to do. Therefore, that's what I know how to do, and that's what I keep on doing. Though something else may be necessary, namely self-knowledge. How does a human being grow in wisdom? Have we asked that question? After all, the Gandhi who was a lawyer in England studying law and so on, it was a completely different man from the Gandhi who died in India. How did that man become this man? How did he grow in wisdom? Krishnamurti was part of the Theosophical Society, grew up as all the Theosophists and so on. How did he come upon so much wisdom and broke away from it all, brought something new into it? So that potential, that capacity is there in the human being. But somewhere we have not exercised it. We have remained with imitation and conformity and obedience and trying to be like everybody else, and destroyed creativity, with that capacity for creativity which is there in the human mind.